Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Everyday EDC. If you can hear the frustration in my voice, as I've already recorded this video once, it stopped halfway through because I ran out of memory because I didn't empty out my trash, which had 80 gigs in it, but my fault. In the process of trying to make more room before I figured it was all out in my trash, I deleted the other half of the video that I was doing. So I'm going to go through this. I'm not going to try to pretend like these are my first impressions of the knife, but this is an unboxing. This came from Drop. I already cut open the box. My unboxing knife was the Launch 10, and yeah. So this knife does need to be shown, though, and I'm kind of going to go through the same things that I went through. You're going to lose some of the humor because I had some of the whatchamacallits. Anyways, so this is a QSP, obviously already unboxed. Not going to try to pretend like that wasn't. It comes with this card. This was in the QSP pouch. And this pouch is actually one of my favorite pouches. It's pretty sweet. This box itself is actually very nice as well. So in this pouch, we have a really, really nice, what it's called the QSP Harpyie. So this thing has perfect centering. It has a pocket clip that is, it's supposed to be deep carry, but you still got this much of the knife sticking out of the pocket. Plus you have these screws that it's recessed into the G10, but the screws are popped out. So they missed a little bit there. But what I can tell you is this carbon fiber up here mixed with the G10 is seamless. You cannot see any difference there whatsoever. It's just absolutely amazing. And the carbon fiber feels smooth, kind of like a CGRB, that really cheap carbon fiber, but there's a difference. I can feel the texturing despite it being pretty polished and smooth on this one, whereas the other one is just kind of like they glazed over it and they could have just put like a laminate mixed with some epoxy and put it on top, right? This definitely feels like carbon fiber. I would give it probably 10 times higher quality than that of the CGRBs that come out with the carbon fiber, like just, there you go. So no detent rock right here. I'm pulling it out, but there's no detent rock whatsoever. A flipper tab, that is a little bit of a pocket pecker, but not a big deal. QSP's pretty cool logo right here, which I don't really get why this is the logo, and then they have this QSP ugly, cheap-looking logo that they got, but whatever. Let's get you guys the overall flip. Oh, I'm trying to pretend like this is the first flip, because the first flip was awesome. This is the QSP Harpyie. Super, super cool blade. So we have this drop point style, maybe tiny bit of clip point if you want to go that route, but maybe not. Reverse tanto, no, I don't know. But yeah, they cut it off at the top. It's basically a drop point. You have a swedge that runs this whole way. Now, I usually don't like a coated blade like this, or the two-toned blade, but something about this just feels so right. As soon as the swedge starts, the paint stops, and then you can tell there's a secondary swedge, or the swedge continues on down to the tip, and it stops there again. And it feels like it's done right, and actually I chose to have the two-tone rather than the clean blade, and I think this is the first knife ever that I felt that way. So, very, very cool. This is a liner lock with a little bit of milling on the inside. It has a G10 backspacer right here. And let's see here, no back and forth, no up and down. We're locked up right at about, I would call that 30%. And in typical QSP fashion, the action is very, very good. Now, this action does not feel as good as, say, my QSP Copperhead, which is probably about half the price. That being said, this hasn't broken in, and it does kind of feel like the bearings are a little dirty, like there might be some dust or something in there. So I think if I cleaned it out, it would be really nice. But listen to that. Oh yeah, right? That's a super badass freaking sound. But did you guys see that? You can really get in that fuller and flick it out there. Now, I was failing the flick in the first video because I was trying to hit the fuller right there. If you take your finger and you get it right in that spot right down there, a little bit lower, no problem whatsoever. This is going to be a super fun fidgety knife. Complaints so far. What do I think is a little bit There's only one thing or two things that threw me off. First of all, the quality is fantastic. The materials feel fantastic. This pocket clip is shit. I mean, and this isn't a review, this is just my first impressions of it. It's really wide. and the bill is super tall. That's going to catch on some stuff. And then they recess the pocket clip. Awesome, but then just put regular screws on top. You should have recessed those screws. The other, there's a slight recurve to this blade. Now, I'm going to go off on a tangent here, and I know this is an unboxing. You're like, just show us the knife, show us this little cut test. But I want to go off on this tangent. I sharpen everything by hand. I'm one of those guys that's like, gotta sharpen it by hand, makes me a little bit more manly. Well, I enjoy sharpening by hand. It's my man zen, if you will. But when you have to deal with the recurve, the game has totally changed. So I have blocks that I think they're ceramic whetstones. Probably, I think they're 2x8s. Maybe they're 2x6s. I got a really cheap diamond stone that might be 2.5x6. And then I have a couple other odds and ends that we accumulate through just being a knife guy, right? I have some oil stones on the way from drop as well, which I'm super stoked on. It's a cool little kit. But my point here being, whenever you have these stones that are that size, a recurve the size of that is going to be a pain in the ass. Now, maybe that's due to my lack of experience. I know I can use the side of that to really get in there, but my irritation there is I'm going to call myself an amateur knife sharpener by hand. I already focus on keeping the angles right. If I have to use that to keep that slight little recurve angle there, it's frustrating to me. There's something a little frustrating about that. Now, those of you with KME sharpeners or anything like that, you won't have a problem. You know, Slicey Dicey's like, oh, on the Concept Cryo, he's like, well, you know, this recurve shouldn't be an issue. You know, I think my KME can get in there. That's fine, but you have a KME, you have a work sharp, you have X, you have Y. Some of us don't. Some of us choose to sharpen by hand, and this is where the downfall comes in. This actually is prompting me to potentially get like a Spyderco Sharp Maker. Still keep it kind of all natural to an extent. You have the rods versus, and it'll let me get in there a lot better. That might be the solution to my problem. But the frustration is why? Like, why would you do that to this knife? This knife would look perfectly fine and maybe even better without that slight recurve. You didn't have to do it. And that's where I'm a little frustrated here. Like, I get it. The end of 2020 into 2021, we have this obsession with this microscopic recurve that shows up here, and you're like, yeah, it looks cooler, you get a lot more cutting edge. But I mean, realistically, do you? I mean, do you really? And B, for guys that are all natural, right, that we just like to sharpen by hand, this is a freaking nightmare. Realistically, I may use the tip of this knife more than the belly right here, and then try to eventually sharpen that out to where there's no recurve whatsoever. Now on S35, that won't be too hard. It won't be as easy as, say, like 9CR or something, but it won't be, you know, it would be easier to do than, say, maybe D2 or M390, obviously. D2 being a little bit harder than S35. You know, some people will argue with that point, but there's different data floating around out there. Obviously, S30 might be a little bit more difficult. But anyways, my point being is that's what I might have to do if I choose to keep this knife, which I think I do. Here's the thing. I compared this against the QSP Copperhead, which is part of the reason that I actually purchased this knife. To me, even though I'm looking at them side by side and they look nothing alike, there's something so similar about these two. I mean, the Copperhead was my poor man's super freak. I freaking loved the Copperhead. Everything about it, even the 14C28N steel, I love the action. You guys see that? Look at that. And you don't feel it. I mean, this thing's freaking awesome. So I bought this with the intentions of kind of replacing my Copperhead, you know. Being a reviewer, having a little bit nicer knives in your repertoire. I think this is going to be a user for me. I intend to carry this probably more so than a lot of my other more expensive knives. And obviously it may go in or leave the channel. I think I'm going to be getting rid of the Copperhead, maybe in a giveaway or something. Yes, it's a very used knife, but it's a fantastic freaking knife. But this replaces it. Now this in hand feels great. Now the Copperhead I called the poor man's super freak because in hand it has contoured scales and it feels really, really nice. This one in hand, I would say, this is the QSP Harpyie. In hand, I would say might be like a fractional step down from this, right? But obviously aesthetic-wise, this is a much more pleasing knife. It has S35, so the blade's going to be better than 14C28N, although I love you, 14C28N. And yeah, so like I said, this is probably replacing the Copperhead. I did in my previous video that I deleted, a weight test, because this feels so much heavier. I when holding these two knives in hand, let me do this again. I'm not going to weigh it out again. I hold this one, and then I hold this one. 100% honesty, this one feels heavier. This one feels denser. In turn, making me feel like it's a higher quality item. Whether it is or it isn't, I mean, they're both QSP, right? But what I'm getting at is this actually weighed 4.94 ounces, and this weighed 4.82. And I wish you guys could have seen that moment. I was like yelling at my scale, calling it a liar. Like, there's no freaking way I'm that off when I hold these things in hand. But it's true. I mean, they are. And this one's a little bit lighter, so that's cool. As I said, this is the QSP Copperhead. I'm going to do a cut test again for the factory edge with some paper and then, or some cardboard and then some paper. As you can see, pretty darn slicey, right? So they did a good job there. Let's get some paper and we can feel, the paper really gives it like that, I'm a knife guy, I'm gonna cut some paper thing, but it really gives it that feeling of how sharp is this really when you're cutting a sheet of paper like this. Oh yeah. Oop. So as you can see, it caught up a little bit, but obviously I'm being a jackass too. It comes pretty damn sharp. Yeah. So this is the QSP Harpyie, and for one last shits and giggles, where's my strap? This is, I think, 1.5 micron or half micron. See, that's another thing. I'm stropping it, and I can already tell that the recurve is slight enough to where it's not bad. But, oh my gosh, I can already see it. See, look, part of the blade's not touching. It's just freaking frustrating. See if we can get that recurve. All right, let's see if that did anything. I'm just being stupid at this point, but so can't really tell. But let's get you guys a hair test. This thing is sharp enough to shave your arm like a baby's bottom. There's some gross hair and skin on this guy. And yeah, so this is the QSP Harpyie. I apologize, this is less entertaining than my first. I was really excited because my first one, it was like blowing me away. I was super stoked on this. And yeah, so, I made a mention also is that this is a heavier knife. Like I said, it's coming in at almost 5 ounces. And that's where I find I prefer my knives. I want something substantial. I want this in hand, and this feels really good. So, this is the QSP Harpyie. Unboxing, not a review. One last thing. I signed off and I want to do one last thing. First of all, the response I got back from the giveaway is fantastic. Holy shit, that thing kind of blew up a little bit. So thank you guys. Thank you to all your new subs that are here. I want to remind everybody, we're approaching that 500 sub mark. Now, I'm not that giveaway fool. I mean, you guys know I do quite a bit of giveaways. For the subs that actually watch, you guys know that I hide my giveaways in my videos. And I will continue to do that, other than when I'm doing like a grab like I did for subs, right? Like, hey guys, look at me, I'm going to give you some free shit. Other than that, everything else is going to be hidden. I'm going to do it in different ways, so when you guys watch the video, some of you may catch it, some of you may not. Maybe it'll be a time thing, maybe it won't. But at 500, there's been no secret. Once I reach 500 subs, I'm giving away a ProTech Newport. So that's more of a reason to kind of get that going. For all you new guys, tell your friends, there's another freaking free ProTech Newport on the way. Plus, my Patreon, which I'm giving away a knife every 2 months based on the number of Patreons. And I also sell my knives, such as, this or whatever else I'm going to sell in the future. Right now, I'm on a trading kick. But anything I sell, I'm going to give a discount, also based on the number of patrons. So this was a weird plug. I didn't mean to do this, but I forgot that I had to mention that ProTech Newport thing. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Tyler. This has been Everyday EDC. You guys stay sharp. Stay safe. Have a great freaking day, guys. Thanks.